Look, I love this film as much as anybody, but we can all admit collectively that it is just the second half of The Lion King, right?
The odds are always against me.
Ready to roll!
Gladiator 2 was a very interesting experience. I simultaneously feel like I can't have loved it quite as much as I did. And yet I was punching the air with joy by the end, going just like, yeah! Paul Mescal plays a white guy in an African city. He ran away from Rome and thought the least conspicuous place for him to hide was as a white guy in an ancient African city? Okay. Pedropascal takes over as epic beloved Roman war general father figure to Lucius. That is specific, wow. But he kills his wife in the first 10 minutes, which is not the way to introduce yourself as a new stepdad. Yeah, Connie Nielsen has now had 2 husbands and a slightly incestuous relationship with her brother, and yet none of those 3 are the father to her 1 child. God damn. So, Lucius meets up with Denzel Washington, who buys him and sees a special sort of rage in him right after his wife has died. Don't know what that could possibly be. Probably sexual frustration. No, but Mescal's character really does have some issues. He's got daddy issues, granddaddy issues, stepdaddy issues. Wow. Kind of the holy trinity of daddy issues, if you will. And when he gets back to Rome, he's like that cool kid who went traveling instead of going to university, and he comes back to your hometown. He's like, just can't help but slag off everything about it. Yeah. Until the point where you're just like we get it, okay? Yeah. You know, everyone knows that person. And he's got to deal with the emperors, that's right, yeah. Gladiator really said, hey, Game of Thrones, fuck you for trying to steal my thunder, now we've got 2 Joffreys! And I hate to state the obvious, but man, what a replacement for Joaquin Phoenix as Joseph Quinn, huh? He looks at least as much of a twink as Joaquin did in the first one. And these emperors are totally crazy, they love monkeys, they've ruined Rome, they want to invade India? And Pedropascal is tired of fighting their wars and just wants to sit at home in a toga, so he decides to overthrow the emperor. Oh, bad idea. Didn't you hear what happened to the last Roman general that tried to overthrow the emperor? He died in the Colosseum. Anyway, I think the key thing with this was always going to be whether it felt like a contrived sequel. And in my opinion, I've watched them both now in the past week or so, I don't think it feels like that. I feel like it does manage to set itself up as a long-awaited part 2 instead of some extra unnecessary add-on, which it was very much a danger of feeling like. Because at the end of Gladiator, we see Maximus gets his revenge, big bungas, evil emperor's dead, but we don't know what happens to Rome next. We have no idea. And it was a revenge story, so it didn't need to do that. This is not a revenge story. It sets itself up like it's going to be very, very similar to the first film. I was a little bit worried, but it's not. It is very much more a sweeping epic about Rome and about lots of different people in it. I was surprised at how little Pedropascal was actually in it, because it's not a mano-y-mano, these 2 guys fighting each other kind of thing. It is very much, there is a larger cast behind this. Denzel Washington was a surprisingly huge part of it, and he's a dog in this. He's incredible. Everything he did in this was awesome. And it was very much a different sort of film. So I've seen some comparisons and other reviews online trying to say, oh, it didn't do this as well as Gladiator. No, it wasn't trying to. It was less focused on like that element. It still matched the first Gladiator in things like the actual Colosseum battles, I thought. Some of those in this were really great. A little, over-the-top extra maybe, but so were the first Gladiators battles, like, let's be honest here. Russell Crowe was very much this magnetic, impossible-to-match sort of lead. Fortunately, I don't think Paul Mescal was trying. He wasn't trying to match him for that sort of intensity and that sort of, like, epic nature, because he's Lucius is a much different character. He's a much angrier character who's actually happy to do the brutal fighting and stuff like that and do what it takes, and he just felt very different. He felt like he honored Maximus in a lot of ways. Maximus comes up a lot. What he did in life really did echo in eternity. I feel like I would have to watch them literally back to back in order to decide whether it really feels like 2 parts of the same whole, but honestly, I kind of feel like it managed it. It very much feels to me like Alien and Aliens, where they're different. They're not exactly the same genre even really, but they do fit together and are both amazing. And this very much is amazing for me. I loved it. So I'm giving Return of the King 4.5 stars. Like, it even turns out that his uncle killed his father, so he ran away. He was the heir to the throne, he ran, gets brought back years later as a handsome jacked dude, set things right in his ruined kingdom. It is The Lion King. If you like contrived comparisons between different movies, please do subscribe.